Are you guys having a good time? Yes? Yes? Can I hear not enough beer. More beer for everybody here, please. Free beer. Whoever's giving out the free beer. Thank you for coming to my talk and sacrificing your Saturday evening. I hope in the next 45 minutes or so, you'll go away thinking inspired and new ideas and inspiration for the year of 2018 ahead for you. So, my name is Kash, not with a C, it's with a K. Don't come up to me after asking me. No, never happens. I always think people might think, but I've been blogging for now 9 years. I started as a hobby. I didn't want to make a living from it. If somebody had told me 9 years ago that one day you're going to make a living from blogging, I would have laughed at them and said, what drugs are you on? You know, something wrong. But 9 years later, here I am on a stage talking about my life as a blogger, and that too on my birthday. Crazy. But I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate my birthday than with a bunch of fun travelers and people and talking travel, because that's what I can do 24/7. So I'm standing here, you're sitting there, but I want you to feel like we're sitting in a room all together, like old friends, having a beer and just talking travel. And I want you to also ask me questions, anything pretty much goes, personal-wise even. There's my girlfriend's in the front row, so it's okay to ask any personal questions. Relationship stuff? Okay. You see, okay. She's giving me the kind of thumbs up. My mission in my life for the last 9 years is to tell people that you can travel in style on a budget. When people say budget travel, just like Alex was here before, hostels. Oh, those are horrible places for smelly 18-year-olds with pimples on their face. And there's this not very attractive image of budget travel. So what my goal has been as a blogger is to try and change the way people think about budget travel. And one of the ways I've done that is through this message. So if any of you want to know everything that's been mentioned in this presentation, minus the videos, take a photograph of that. It's on SlideShare, the whole presentation. You'll find everything I've mentioned on that presentation. So take a photograph, and I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. And then I'm going to show this again at the end of the presentation if you're still here and think that's worth taking a photograph of. So, my blog is called The Budget Traveler. If you want to email me, talk to me, ask me travel questions, that's my email address. I love Instagram, like most of us do. I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. At the moment, I'm really not inspired by Instagram at the moment. It's really pissing me off. But anyway, I still love it. And Twitter. So, in 2016, National Geographic Traveler readers voted me as their favorite travel blog, which was a big, exciting shock and great honor for me to have that. So I've been doing that, and there's also this Travel Media Awards. Those are all that's not the interesting part. Let's get back onto the talking about travel. And those are my clients, in case you're interested. I do this professionally, by the way. I don't know how many in the room of you are interested in my life as a professional travel blogger, but I actually make a living. And I've been invited or worked with these destinations in the last 7 years. And that's one way I make a living from my blog. And if you've got any questions about how I make a living, which I'm sure is a question all of you would love to ask, how much money do you make? How do you do it? I'm open. I'm an open book. I'm happy to share all my secrets with you today. It depends on how much beer I drink, so keep the beer coming my way and I might tell you everything. So, my blogging journey started in April 2009. And funnily enough, there's a lot of bloggers that have gone on to do great things that kind of started at the same time as me. And I don't know the reason why everybody started blogging in 2009, 2010. But I think At that time, it was the recession had just kicked in. I'd lost my job. I was really depressed. I'd spent 40, 50,000 pounds on my university education. I was in a lot of debt, and I was running a magazine for students in Scotland. Anybody from Scotland here? No Scottish people? Well, we're in Berlin, so I can understand the Scots might not be here. But anyway, I lived and studied in Edinburgh, and I was in a lot of debt, and I was really uninspired, and I just wanted to travel. All my life, all I wanted to do was travel. And I didn't have much money. I was in a lot of debt, and I just lost my job in the summer, and it was really depressing me. And I couldn't afford to go on holiday. And somebody told me the next best thing to not traveling is sometimes talking about travel. So you could say the Berlin Travel Festival is the next best thing to not going on holiday, because here you are looking at all these amazing destinations in the world, places you could go, and all those dreams and ideas that, oh, maybe we go there in the summer. And I realized that a lot of people would love to talk about travel. So somebody told me about this thing called blogging and Twitter. And when people told me Twitter, I said, oh, that sounds like very fancy, kind of weird thing. That's something that Stephen Fry would do. I'm not Stephen Fry. I can't talk witty and eloquently in 140 characters. I think it's 140, 160 characters, Twitter. 140? 160? Oh, okay. But I joined Twitter and I started the blog, and that was my first blog, EuropeBudgetGuide.com. The reason I picked those words was because I met this SEO guru in Edinburgh, and he said, if you want to be seen on Google, put all the keywords you like to be known for in your blog title. Hence, the very sexy name, EuropeBudgetGuide.com. And I did that for 2 years. And that's how my blogging thing started. It started as a hobby. I didn't make a living from my blog in the first 3 to 4 years. But luckily, there's this wonderful gentleman here that you might recognize, Michael O'Leary. I don't know if you guys are old enough as me, particularly I am old, feeling a little old today, but Michael O'Leary, I'm the child of the Ryanair generation. I'm not too sexy for the EasyJet generation. I couldn't afford more than 10 pence return flights. And back in the day when Ryanair launched, they used to do these amazing sales. I don't know if any of you guys you'd stay up till midnight looking at your laptop, refresh, waiting for the flights to be announced. And then you'd be like, yes, 2 pence return to Billund. Okay, nothing wrong with Billund. It's a nice place, Legoland. But to the most unattractive, unsexiest places in the world. But anyway, it still gave me a means to travel, and I didn't have much money. And thanks to Mr. Michael O'Leary, I managed to start traveling around the world on a budget. So I got this great deal to Pisa, and I stayed at this hostel. This was my first hostel. It's a not very well-known hostel. It's a small 14th century convent converted into a hostel in a small town called Cataldo, which is about 20 minutes from Florence. There's nothing remarkable about this town, but it is a little slice of Tuscany. You can't see the toilets from here, but the toilets in this hostel has the most epic view of the Tuscan countryside. So there I am, after a long night of drinking wine, feeling very hungover and very sorry, having a private moment on the toilet, sitting there and looking at this amazing countryside. And I only paid about €9 for a night for this place. And this is the kind of hostel you probably might know that you go there for 2 days, you fall in love with the hostel, and you end up spending 2 weeks. So nobody knew about this hostel, but everybody I met in the hostel were like, oh, I've been here for 3 weeks, I've been here for 4 weeks. And that's what great hostels do. They make you feel at home. They really make you feel part of something bigger than yourself. So my kind of story of blogging and my blogging journey, I'm jumping 2 years ahead to April 2011. I don't know where you guys were in April 2011, but I want you to close your eyes for 1 second and try and remember where you were I don't know if you were in this city. Does anybody know which city this is? Paris. Okay, Paris. That was an easy one. Paris. So I was in Paris. And I was there because there used to be this budget airline called BMI Baby, which no longer sadly exists. And they had come up with this great idea. We want to send you Kash to Paris for 2 days with only 100 pounds. And I was like, okay, Paris, 100 pounds for 2 days? It's kind of hard. There's not much you can do with 100 pounds in Paris. But it sounded like a challenge. And that's what I love about my life as a blogger, writing about budget travel. I like a challenge. When people talk about budget travel, people think it's about traveling cheap. It's not that. It's a creative challenge, and that's why I love this. So I was like, okay, let's do this. But there was a small problem. The day I arrived in Paris, these two guys decided to get married. So when I do a blog trip, I usually ask on Twitter, on Facebook, hey guys, I am in Paris. What can I do? And I wasn't getting any responses. I was looking at my whole Facebook, Twitter feed, and all I could see was, OMG, OMG, did you see her dress? And I was like, oh shit, I came at the wrong time to Paris. It was everybody talking about Kate's dress. That was the whole Twitter feed taken care of. So it was a pretty hard trip for me. The other big problem I had, which a lot of you might have in this room, when you think of the word hostel, as Alex said in his previous talk, sometimes you associate hostel dorms with men or women. Women snore too. We know that. You always deny it, but you do snore. And I was in a dorm of 12 Brazilian people that had drank way too many caipirinhas in the hostel bar the night before, and they were all snoring like hyenas. And I was like, I can't take this. Everybody's snoring. And then at 4 a.m., trying to go to sleep, one guy decides to open his crisp packet. And he thinks nobody's hearing it, but oh boy, it's like Chinese torture. Slowly crunch, crunch, crunch. I was like, just fucking finish the bunch of crisps. And 1 hour goes on, he's still slowly munching away. And I was like, I can't write about budget travel anymore. I can't stay in hostels anymore. I was having this real crisis that I can't stay in dorms anymore. Can I still be a budget traveler? And then there's this other problem that maybe you might have too, which you might not want to share with me. But I have this thing about shitting in public toilets. It kind of makes me feel a little uneasy, a little depressed like that gentleman in the picture. Especially when you're having your private moment in the morning and then suddenly you hear the melodic voice or tune of somebody else in the cubicle next to you having a same private moment, and you're like, I don't want to be here. I can't hack it anymore. I need my own toilet. I'm too old for hostels. But then you do weird things. Google is a terrible thing to have at the fingertips of your phone. Because sometimes when you're really bored of life, you start Googling things. Is this weird? Is this normal to be hating, shitting in public toilets? Is this a disease of something? But guess what? Shitting in public toilets, the fear of it, is actually a disease. Yeah, we all share a disease. Yeah, I know it's heavy for a Saturday evening. It's called parcopresis. It's the irrational fear of public defecation. And apparently there is an analogic condition for those that don't like to piss in public, and it's called paruresis. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. But anyway, we all have, maybe some of us have a common disease together. So I was like in a real identity crisis. I'm the budget traveler. I'm supposed to love hostels. What am I going to do? Same time in my life, I was going through another big crisis. I had just broken up with my wife of 4 years. I'd split up. I was really disillusioned with life. And then my friend told me, don't worry, there's this thing. This is way before the Tinder days. You guys have got it so sweet nowadays with Tinder and all these apps. Back in the day, it was just Match.com. Who here was on Match.com? Anybody brave to show their hands? Yay, the gentleman on the left. Sorry to point you out. But there used to be this thing called Match.com. And every date I used to go to, I won't deny it. When you say that you're a travel blogger, do you travel for a living? Yes, I do. Do you go to all the wonderful places in the world? Yes, I do. Wow, you have the most amazing job in the world. Then they would ask me, what do you blog about again? I said, oh, I blog about budget travel. Oh, does that mean hostels? And then I would see the whole face of my date just kind of disintegrate and like instant hatred, like, oh, Kash, I can't date you any longer. I'm a hotel kind of girl. And then, at the same time in my life, somebody had this genius idea of doing a slasher, gory horror movie in a hostel. And it didn't really help when I was going on dates and saying, oh, I live and work in hostels. And then the girls would look at me and be like, is it just like the movie? And I'm like, you know, life always doesn't necessarily imitate movies as much as we'd like it to. So I realized that a lot of people had this negative idea of hostels. So what I did, I went on a road trip in 2013 across Europe. I wanted to find out, are hostels that bad? Are we maybe thinking wrongly about hostels? Maybe we need to change our opinion of them. I went to Florence. Who here has been to Florence? Yay! Has anybody here been to Plus Florence? No? One? Maybe? No? No? Okay. Plus Florence. Beautiful hostel. A swimming pool in a hostel. Can you believe it? You never would think there would be swimming pools in hostels, but they have a swimming pool outside the hostel, and they have one on the rooftop, overlooking the Duomo, right in front of you. Great hostel, very nice place. I was like, wow, hostels are a bit different. Kex, hostel in Reykjavik. Yeah, I see a few hands here. Old biscuit factory turned into a hostel. Beautiful space, the place to be in Reykjavik. Live music scene, fantastic. It's really the heartbeat of Reykjavik, this hostel. And I realized that people were thinking differently of hostels, and I realized I've got to do something different. So as part of my road trip, I also filmed some of my favorite hostels. I'm going to show you a wee video of some of my favorite hostels. So, what do you think? Do you think you might go to a hostel after seeing that video? Have I helped change your opinion a little bit? I see a couple of ladies smiling like, I'm no longer a hotel kind of girl anymore, I think. So I wrote a book about it. I didn't have much money. I was struggling in a lot of debt, but I managed to pull together a book. And that was the changing point in my hosteling career. Until that time, I never considered being a professional blogger. But all of a sudden, I wrote this book about these 50 hostels, and suddenly I was getting calls from The Guardian, New York Times, Lonely Planet. And yeah, it was amazing. It just really took my whole blogging career to a new level. And even there's this event called World Travel Market, which is an event in London. And they named luxury hostels, or sometimes they call it poshtels, which is a horrible word. Posh and hostels, it's like, nah, it's not. It sounds very right-wing and very elitist. It's not what hostels are. Hostels for people, for everybody of all demographics and ages and incomes. So that was a great moment. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share another video of a great hostel which is in your city. It's called The Circus. Who here knows The Circus? Yay! Some of you still don't know The Circus. Well, guess what? Some of the best adventures you can have is take a backpack and go and have a staycation in your own city, find a cheap bunk bed in the Circus hostel and meet people from all over the world. It's the cheapest thing you can do. I've done that so many times when I didn't have money. And this is a video about The Circus.
When we started the Circus Hostel, the concept of hostels was still fairly new in Germany, and we wanted a place that we would like to stay at ourselves. And when we started, we had no idea about the business, so we only had the perspective of the guest, and that turned out to be a good thing. And what we want to do is we basically want to be hosts. We love having people over, we love having people to Berlin. Last year we opened our very own brewery downstairs in our bar. We've had a bar for a long time. It's called Katz and Maus. And with the David Hasselhoff Museum, we of course catered to a very, very big need, which was obviously out there, because believe it or not, there had not been a museum to the Hof before. It's unbelievable, I know. We try to show them the city that we live in and the city that we love, and offer them not only a bed and a cup of coffee, but we try to offer them a home away from home.
So, a museum to the Hof, who would have thought in Berlin it exists? And it's great. It's really small, but there was apparently his chest hair on that mural you saw, but somebody took his chest hair. I don't know why. I don't know why you would want to keep the chest hair of David. So now this part of the talk is for you. This is where I'm going to focus on you guys. I'm going to try and give you some magical tips that will hopefully inspire your 2018 Summer of Love travel journey, or 2018 winter, or 2019 summer. As I said, for me, budget travel is not about saving money. For me, I feel it's about how well do you spend your money. Because I think that's what we all care about. We don't mind staying in a dorm in 10 euros. We don't do it because well, some of us are poor and broke, and I used to be poor and broke. But for me, it's not about that. It's about the experience. And that's what I try and educate and tell people, that be smart in the way you travel. So the first thing that you must do, and I'm being entirely biased here, is that you must download my guide to the luxury hostels of Europe. It is free to download from my blog. You'll see a little caption there on the right. Pop your email address, download the book, and it's free completely. And I won't send you spam. I send only good stuff once a month. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, it's a simple, basic concept. You probably already know this. Go places where your money goes the farthest. Sometimes when we're planning holidays, we're always thinking, how quickly can we go to X, Y, and Z? And sometimes we need to take a step back and think, where does the euro go farthest? So one place the euro does go far, and I know that it's very popular with tourists and people from Germany, is Bangkok. Unfortunately, that's cut out somehow, but that's called the Rawi Kanalaya Hotel in Bangkok. That is a 4-star hotel. Swimming pool, really nice. You can have a late breakfast there. It's really luxurious, really stylish. And guess what? The price of this hotel is only 55 euros today. If you book it today, it's 55 euros. That's, I think, is a pretty good deal for a 4-star design hotel. Other place where your money goes far. Who's been to Cambodia? Yes! This is my tribe. I love you guys. I fucking love Cambodia. I admit, I'm 39 years old today. I never went to Southeast Asia till last year. And you might think that's weird as somebody writes about budget travel, but I always wanted to save my trip to Southeast Asia to do it with someone special, because I think it's a pretty awesome place to go, but it's somewhere you want to go and share it with someone special. So I was lucky enough to meet a beautiful lady who's in the front of the audience, and she joined me, and we both went to Southeast Asia together. And I did this amazing trip to Cambodia with G Adventures. So a lot of you might be thinking, you're talking about independent travel. Why would you work with a tour operator? Well, for me, I think Southeast Asia can be quite overwhelming. It's a lot to take in. It's a very different pace of life. And it's always nice to go with somebody who's local, who knows the country well. And that's the luxury of going on a well-organized tour like G Adventures. And I did their Cambodia on a shoestring, and it was fantastic. It was 10 days non-stop. You don't, basically, no time to, you have some time to sleep. It's pretty non-stop adrenaline rush, but it's a great way to really take in the whole country and get a snapshot of the culture and the people. And they do a really good job of focusing on culture, on food. So if you are ever thinking about, I haven't done Southeast Asia yet, I'm a bit intimidated, I'd like to go in a group of nice people, I really, really recommend G. They're really nice people, and they're really focused on giving money back to the communities, which is, for me, a really, really important message. Who of you can tell me, for 5 Berlin points, which country is this? South Africa. Gentlemen in the second row, 5 Berlin points to you. South Africa. Who of you here has been to South Africa? A few raise of hands. Wow, great. You really should think about going to South Africa. It's, for me, when people ask me my favorite travel destination in the world, I always say South Africa. And I say it for a number of reasons. One of the reasons I say it for is because, A, it's pretty good damn value for your euro. Sadly, their economy is screwed because they got a couple of shitheads ruling their country and screwing it up. But on other terms, the depreciation of the rand against the euro means you're getting a lot more value for your money. But that's not the only reason you should go to South Africa. You should go to South Africa because, for me, it's people, food, place, nature. It's got everything in one country. I did this amazing trip with a good friend of mine called Simon Lewis. He lives in South Africa, but he's from Liverpool. He calls himself a Scouse African. And we went flashbacking across the garden route 1 week. We went to 6 hostels. And I've got a little video to show you about the whole trip, which will give you an idea of how amazing this country is. And hopefully this will work.
So this idea was born when I got an email from Kash, and he said, Simon, do you want to join me on a 7-day road trip to South Africa? I was like, sounds like fun. What's the job?
So I came in May to South Africa and had a brilliant time and went to Northern Cape, Joburg,
but I really wanted to get into more of the soul of the country and discover it from my own eyes. And what better way to do it than through a road trip?
Took them to some really cool hostels, some really out-of-the-way places that a backpacker wouldn't necessarily get to see, some little secret spots, secret cafes, little bars and things like that, but generally just to make a proper sort of road trip.
And I think the key thing was showing people that South Africa is a very affordable but value for money destination where you can travel in style, have the best experiences without spending too much money. So that was my epic, great adventure across South Africa. It's the people, the place. I still dream about South Africa, and I dream of all those people, the beaches, the nature. And particularly if you're into adventure, paragliding, it's the cheapest place to go paragliding in the world. I think it costs about 30 euros. And if you want to know all the details about my trip, I've shared a link at the end of my presentation where you'll find all the links to all the articles. And it's a 3-part video series if you want to dig a little bit deeper into my trip and what I did. Talking about money, one other thing that I find a lot of people do a lot is when you're using your card abroad, sometimes people don't pick the right travel currency card. So I'm now going to dig into my wallet. I'm going to try and find the card that I use now is actually a Berlin-based startup. It's called N26. Anybody here? N26? Couple of N26s here? I only recently discovered this, and it's fantastic because with this card, I can take money out across the world for free. It doesn't cost me a penny. I get 5 cash-free withdrawals a month. If I upgrade to their black scheme, which is about 6 euros a month, you can do it for free as many times as you want. And the other good thing is that every time when I pay with my card, I don't get charged. And every time you use your bank card abroad, if you look at your bank statements, you're getting charged 5, 6, 7 euros per transaction. And it's a big, big rip-off that not many people in the banking industry want to let you know. So be very, very careful what card you're using when you're going traveling abroad, because you could be spending up to 40, 50, 60, 70 euros using the wrong bank card. And I really like this card, and it gives me notifications on my phone whenever I'm spending money, and I can block it if I've had a drunken night out and I can't find my card, and I'm like, oh, where did I leave my card? And then 5 hours later, oh, it's just right beside my bed. So you can temporarily put a block on the card using the app. So it's really cool, and it's a Berlin-based startup, so always support your local. Another app that I love when planning travel, Skyscanner. Skyscanner fans here. Yay! Great. If you haven't been using, Momondo is fantastic, by the way. I really like Momondo too. I love using the Everyway function. I probably spent half of my life on Skyscanner. Are you one of those people too? Yeah, I know it's sad. I'm like, where can I go for cheap this weekend? Berlin everywhere. And I'm always doing this and looking for cheap flights, and I love this app. Another app or website that I recently discovered is called Flightlist. Flightlist, you put in your dates, you put in the date you want to travel, where you want to go, and then you put in your budget and your travel time, and it gives you a list of all the options. A really, really cool website. The guys just learned how to code and build this. He's a startup. He's still kind of tweaking the whole thing. But it's a really, really cool concept and something that you might want to bookmark for your future travels. Another Berlin-based startup, Go Euro. Fantastic app. I really use these guys a lot when I'm traveling in Germany, looking at train, bus, and it compares bus, train together. So you can figure out whether you're going to be stuck in Flixbus for 8 hours with a bunch of drunken nutters, or whether you're going to take the train and spend a little bit more money and breathe and take it easy. But I've got nothing against Flixbus. Flixbus is okay. So, one other thing, when people say it's very expensive to travel, going around Europe can be expensive. I did an article where I showed how you could go to 15 cities across the world for under 250 euros. And I did a little video to give you an idea of how much it really costs. So I'm starting in London, Paris, Amsterdam, going all to the classic destinations. And you have to take the Flixbus sometimes. I'm not really doing a good job of promoting Flixbus here, am I? I hope nobody from Flixbus is here. And this is a combination of using Go Euro and using Skyscanner. Berlin, obviously, you have to come to Berlin if you're coming to Europe. And it's very smart. You combine flights, train, and you just don't have to take buses all the time. If you're very smart, I always say plan in advance. It's something I know that's difficult for us, but if you can plan in advance, the prices and savings you make is immense. I always say book at least 60 days in advance if you want to get the best fares. So that gives you a little flavor, and that's the total spend, about 250 euros. And that's the article. Another thing that I love, that not many people do, I wonder if I have my backpack here. It's right over there. I'm just going to go and grab it from here. So, a lot of people, like this gentleman here, trying to cram your backpack in the overhead locker, fighting with people, making sure you get under the plane first before everybody does so that you could get that one space to fit your backpack in. And it's pretty damn stressful, but it's unfortunately the way we travel nowadays. I recently learned this term, by the way, one-bag travel. It sounds very hipstery and very flash, but are you one-bag travelers here? One-bag travelers? So I travel with these guys called Arcedo. So they are a startup based in Edinburgh. And this is about 35 liters. It pretty much carries everything you would want for a whole week. And it's pretty comfortable. Fits nicely onto my backpack, back of my bag. It's very comfortable. You have a secret pocket here for keeping your passport and all your things, which is really handy. And the most important thing, if you're traveling with a laptop or your iPad, you can quickly pull it out from this separate compartment here. So this is where your laptop would go. And here you can keep all your valuables and everything inside here. And it's a separate compartment, so when you're going through security and you only have 2 seconds to take off all your clothes and pull out the laptop, it's pretty handy. And then you have the front, which pulls out like this. That's my cable. And we have packing cubes. How many of you here use packing cubes? Packing cubes, really, packing cubes make such a difference, especially with a very disorganized person like me. I'm very disorganized. Everything's a mess when you open my backpack. But with a packing cube, I use ones from Amazon. So you can get a pack of these for about 14 euros. And it's really, really efficient. And you can pack so much into one packing cube. This is done, by the way, with the assistance of my good lady. I wish I could claim credit for this, but she's an amazing packer. But so much you can put into one backpack. And that's enough. So I've got this, I've got that, and I've got shirts beneath. And that's enough for 1 week. So yeah, I'm not putting it together nicely. But anyway, put that to the side. So that gives you an idea of how much money you can save. And it's a lot of money checking your backpacking nowadays. Coming to the end of my talk slowly, get off the beaten path. Common sense. But not enough people are ready to go to the relatively unknown destinations. So in September last year, I went to a place called Zaragoza. Has anybody here been to Zaragoza? Few people, fantastic. Great city, 5th largest city in Spain. Amazing street art scene. Fantastic tapas gastronomy scene. Very walkable. You don't need a car. You can walk around all the main sites. It's really compact. Student city, very young at heart. Lots of cool bars and clubs. It's only a matter of time before National Geographic and Lonely Planet declare it as the next best thing to do. So before they do that, go there. To give you an idea of why it's affordable, a price of a 3-4-star hotel is 50 euros in the city center of Zaragoza. Compare that with Madrid, you're paying at least 90 to 100 euros. So you're immediately saving a lot of money by picking a slightly lesser known destination. So when you're thinking about your travel plans in the next few months, try and think, okay, we could go to Madrid, we can go to Barcelona, we can go to Venice, but maybe we'll look at something a little less obvious, like maybe Zaragoza, maybe Ghent, maybe Poznan. But I love Madrid. Who loves Madrid? Madrid. I eat and explore cities through my belly. That's my judge of a good place. And Madrid is just food heaven. It's just, you can eat like a king and eat like a pig. And I thought I'd show you a little video to finish off about all the amazing things you can do in Madrid in 24 hours. amazing sunset. Temple de Bod, this Egyptian temple in the middle of Madrid. It is absolutely stunning. Doesn't cost you a penny, and it is the most beautiful sunset you can imagine. A few tips summarizing the video. Reina Sofia, if you want to see Picasso's Guernica, go between 7 to 9 every day and you get in for free, or 1:30 to 7 on a Sunday. There's all these free museum opening times. Museums can be very expensive. So always check out for the free opening hours. Sometimes it's a bit of a queue. Sometimes you got to wait a little bit, like you're waiting outside one of those nightclubs in Berlin. So you're trained and you're used to it. But it's worth it. The Thyssen Bornemisza, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but they have an amazing collection of pop art. And you can go there for free on Mondays from 12 to 4. Temple de Bod, Rastro, great flea market. Parque del El Retiro, really beautiful park. Everybody goes there, locals go there with a beer in their hand, soaking in the sunshine. It doesn't cost a penny. The tapas joints that I showed you in the video, Posada da Vila, La Perejila. My Spanish is terrible, I apologize. But you buy a drink and you get a free tapa. You buy more drinks, you get even bigger tapa portions. That's the beauty of Madras, it's the food. So, wrapping up. Those are all the articles I shared. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take it now. And that's the presentation. And that sadly is the end. Thank you for staying with me through this last 40, 50 minutes. I don't know how long. But I hope you got something out of it. And I really mean it. I live in Berlin. Berlin is home. I used to live in Scotland, but I proudly call this city my home. If you want to have a beer, want to talk travel with me, come and grab me at the end of this talk. Take my card. Contact me via Instagram. Let's talk travel. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here. I love you all. And do you have any questions? This is your golden moment. Anybody got a question?
Maybe nobody has questions because
Okay.
you gave such practical insights and such practical tips. Oh yes, there is still one.
Okay. Damn it, just when I thought I was getting away.
Hi, very
Hi.
nice presentation, thanks. Talking about the luxury hostel thing, how much does it cost? Because it must be much more expensive than the usual hostel.
It can depend. Some of the luxury hostels in the book, Generator, Amsterdam can be very expensive staying in a dorm in Generator. Some of the hostels I know, they're in Portugal, you can stay in a dorm plus Berlin. In Berlin, you can spend 10 euros and stay in a dorm there. And these are not just dorms, these are really nice dorms with privacy curtains and everything. So don't be fooled by the word luxury. When I mention luxury hostels, I'm not talking about luxury in the sense of traditional luxury in the sense of experience. So they look a bit boutiquey, but they're not just that. I picked the hostels in the book because I primarily focus on the people and the experience.
So hostel for you always means not sleeping alone in one bedroom.
I don't mind sharing with other people, but as I've grown older, I realized a lot of people like their own privacy. And that's why I wanted to do this book where people could choose a private room or stay in a dorm depending on their budget. So
What I mean is you won't call a hostel if there's rooms where it's only one bed or two beds. It's never a hostel because there's concepts where they mix it.
yeah, that's the thing. It's a very flexible concept. You can have dorms, you can have privates.
Yeah.
You can, but some of them are not hostels anymore. They're more hotels than hostels.
What
I
do you
know.
call 25 hours a hostel or is it a hotel?
Which one?
25 hours?
25 hours is a hotel.
Okay. So
I would call that a hotel.
thank you very much.
All right.
Any other question? Oh yes, go for you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. What is next on your travel bucket list?
Next, I'm actually doing a trip with friends. I'm going to Seville.
Okay.
I'm going to Seville. I love food, as you've discovered. So I'm taking a bunch of dear friends from Berlin. We're going to go to Seville. We're going to eat and drink our heart out for 36 hours, pass out on the cobbled streets, wake up again, and then we're going to go to the south of Portugal, Tavira, a beautiful surf destination. If you don't know Tavira, very, very nice. and beautiful food, and Portugal is beautiful. So yeah, I'm doing a little mini trip with friends, and I'm really excited because I've never been to Tavira.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hi. Have you ever been to Georgia?
I haven't.
You
I haven't. I've been actually speaking with the people from Georgia.
Yeah.
It's always been on my list of places to go. I've been dreaming about it for a long time. So I hear there's a very cool hostel there called Fabrica.
Yeah. We just talked to them and
Yes,
it
we
seems
did.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah, I hope to visit your beautiful country very soon. And yeah, I would love to go and see the hostel. So yeah,
Okay. Thanks.
welcome.
Okay, looking for one more question or maybe two more, yeah? Kash, not time to celebrate yet.
No worries, no worries. I'll behave.
Hey, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering how you would compare couchsurfing experience with hostel experience, and why would you choose a hostel over couchsurfing?
Hostel over couchsurfing. Couchsurfing is brilliant. It's like apples and oranges. I feel couchsurfing is a very authentic experience where you're being hosted by a local, and they're open to sharing their room. They generally want to interact with you. It's a very personal and very local experience, and it's fantastic. A hostel is also a very social experience because you meet people who are locals who run the hostel, and they also want to share their city with you. So they're both similar but different. And obviously couchsurfing is free, so it's great. I've couchsurfed in the past and I've met some great people, but I know it's not for everyone. So I do sometimes a mix of couchsurfing. Sometimes I do Airbnb. I admit it. Sometimes I've had some great Airbnb experiences. So I try and mix it up. But yeah, I wouldn't say one is bad or one is good. I always think there's room for everyone. Okay. Rock and roll.
I think that's it. Or is there another question? Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for the presentation. Look, so obviously you make your money through all the things you told us to do, and congratulations, you did well. The question is, will you maybe be cool with sharing some insights, info for maybe some people who have also the wish to travel and not only blog about it, but maybe do other things? Is there anything you can, like some kind of advice you can give people that also want to, make a story, whatever? And then how do you approach your sponsors, partners, things
That's
like
a
that?
whole
Is there
new
anything-
talk here.
Okay.
But I'm going to try and give it in
Yeah.
a nutshell.
Maybe something inspiring, I don't know.
Okay, all I'll say is that you really don't need to be a blogger to travel the world. There's lots of ways you can travel around the world. There's a really good website. If you love hostels, Workaway. A lot of the hostels recruit people from Workaway, and it's a volunteer where you get a room, board, and you work probably 10 to 15 hours a week, and you can stay in the hostel, and they take care of you. So that's one great way of doing it. House sitting. Anybody in here knows house sitting? If you love cats and dogs, Amelie over there is a popular house sitter, and that's the way she travels around the world a lot. And you can get a great place in the middle of the city, and all you got to do is give the dog a hug, take them for a walk, look after them, give them some love, and you get to stay in a beautiful place for free. So there are lots of ways of doing it. And in terms of blogging, all I would say that if you are passionate about travel, if you're going to start a blog, try and be original. Because at the moment I feel with the whole blogging world, I don't want to sound negative, but everybody is trying to write the things that will get them the attention of sponsors, and they're losing a little bit of their soul. And I think it's really important that if you are going to spend a lot of time, because it's a lot of hard work writing and blogging, and most of the bloggers here, who are some of them in this room, they will tell you that it looks nice from the outside, but it is a lot of hard work goes into building a blog, and it's not for everyone. Just do it with passion. Try and be original. It's difficult, but try and think about a different way of how you can inspire people to travel better, and focus on those topics. But don't do the same old, I'm here in the middle. I do this too. I do the hipstery Instagram pose, Wes Anderson symmetry. But don't do that. That's just like dying. It's just killing travel at the moment. This whole hipsterish Instagram-driven trend. So yeah, try and be original. And maybe you'll find your way.